Welcome to Pastor's Library. My name is Stephen Redman. This is the channel where we talk about everything to do with theology books, books that might be on a reading list for your seminary course, for your bachelor's or master's degrees in theology or biblical studies, or maybe just books that you've seen on a shelf in a Christian bookshop, or if you've maybe visited your vicar or pastor and seen them on his bookshelf too. So if you're remotely interested in any of this, please subscribe, please click on the bell, and that way you'll know when we release another episode. If you like what we have to say today, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. You're always welcome to leave a comment. I try to reply to everything in due course. So today we're going to talk about my favourite commentaries on the Gospel of Mark. Now, Mark is a big issue for us as Christians because we believe Mark was the first gospel to ever be recorded. We think it was an oral communication to start with. We believe that people in the local churches would recite parts of Mark's gospel, and that was how it was communicated. These days, we have got loads of printed Bibles in the English language. We're spoilt for choice. We can access it whenever we want. And as a result of that, and because Solomon said of the end of the making of many books there is no end, we have an awful lot of commentaries on Mark's Gospel. So I'm going to show you a few books to start with that I think are interesting, that are worth engaging with, and then we'll get to what I think are the really important commentaries towards the end. This is one that I like quite a bit. It's got a foreword by N.T. Wright. It's written by Ben Blackwell, John Goodrich and Jason Maston. They're the editors. And this is called Reading Mark in Context. This is what I would call a book you read before you really start studying Mark. It gives you the contents to it. If you like, these are articles that you might have otherwise perhaps seen in a journal, but they are very, very helpful, and they will give you an understanding of the life and times of the Gospel of Mark. So that's a quick one. It's worthwhile, low-cost book, worth investing in. This one is getting a little bit older now. I don't know how long I've had this. This will be one of my early purchases. It's published in 1999, and it's by W.R. Telford, and it's the Cambridge New Testament theology book on the theology of the Gospel of Mark. Now, again, this is sort of a deep dive into the Gospel. It tells you what points Mark is trying to make, what thinking Mark has got on various underlying theological subjects that will help you understand Mark. I have to say, whenever I've written essays in the past, this series of books have really helped me. And this book is no different to the rest of them. It's a really good reader on Mark, and I commend it to you. This is a series which I think is a bit underrated. It's called Reading the New Testament, and they're all subtitled A Literary and Theological Commentary on, and this one's Reading Mark, so it's a literary and theological commentary on Mark. Now, this means it's not a verse-by-verse commentary. It looks at the literary style, it looks at the theology behind the book. In some ways, I sort of prefer this series to the Cambridge Theology series, even though some of them are totally outstanding and hit the ball out the park, if I might spoil a sporting metaphor there. But this one is very good indeed. You get into it, you understand the key points of Mark, you understand the theology behind it. It's an excellent book. Again, not terribly expensive, all paperback, but very easy to keep in good order. And I like this series and I like this book. What I'm saying is I'm not going to put this in my top few commentaries, but I think of this book when I think of Mark as well. I suppose this is more a traditional commentary. It's the New Covenant commentary series on Mark. It's written by Kim Wat Tan, It was written in 2016. It's 267 pages. It's affordable. It's paperback. It's not going to cripple you at the bank. I actually like these NCCS books. I really do. I think that they have a lot to offer. I quite like reading commentaries by people from the Asian subcontinent or people with that background, because they tend to have a more global overview and tend not to get quite as bogged down in some of our Western thought processes. And I like this for that reason. I think it's a good commentary. Again, I wouldn't say it's one of the best. Having said that, when I was looking up something in the second chapter of Mark, I found that this author went on a slightly different route to what I would have expected, and I learned something by reading this. And I always like any book when I feel I've learned something, so a good one to consider. Now, the New Interpreter's Bible is a range of 12 volumes containing the whole Bible. This particular one has a series of articles on the New Testament, followed by full commentaries on Matthew and Mark. The Mark's Gospel is by Phoebe Perkins. It was written in 1995. It's 224 pages. I sort of think these books are always good value because they might be sort of £40-ish. You might have to pay even slightly more than that. But you do get for that, in this case, a good commentary on Mark, a good commentary on Matthew, and some good general articles on the background of the New Testament. So I think these are good. Being 1995, I suppose this should probably be coming up for renewal in the next decade. And I hope they do, because I like this series and I think they have a lot to offer. A good commentary on Mark. The NIVAC commentaries are highly regarded, and this is no different. David Garland is a well-known commentator, writer, and he's written this one on Mark. Obviously, by the title, you know, this focuses on the application of the text, and in that sense, it's a little bit different, outstanding. If you are going to be a preacher or a teacher, application is important. I do think that Garland has produced something good with this. It's 1996, it's 653 pages, and it's not the end of the world in price. They're all hardback of these, and they offer good value. This is certainly not one to ignore, particularly if you're going to be preaching or teaching. If you're just studying for studying's sake, probably not the best use of your money. Couple of others here. This one is the Paideia commentary on Mark by Mary Ann Beavis, 2011, so a little bit more up to date, 302 pages, a good size. Beavis, I think, gives a very good insight into Mark, actually, and I think she has a lot to say in this. I commend it to you. This one I am really quite attached to. This is C. Clifton Black's commentary in the Abingdon series on Mark. The Abingdon series tend to have a leaning towards free will theism, or shall we say a dismissal of determinism. And so I always feel at home with one. This is a paperback. It's got good layout. It's got lots of use of tables. I actually like this. I find it very accessible. I suppose when I say it's very accessible, let me put it to you this way. I started reading this for one thing the other week, maybe I think that was Mark 2 as well, got into Mark 2, found I was reading about Mark chapter 4 before I realised I'd exceeded Mark 2, because it's all engaging. The writer's very engaging, the text is engaging, it's easy to follow, it's easy to carry on, and when you feel that you're feeding yourself and learning from it, then you just carry on, don't you? So that's what I call an accessible commentary, and I think it's very, very worthwhile indeed. Getting on now to those commentaries which I consider a little bit nearer the top of the pile. This is a 2021 commentary by Timothy Gombis. Now, it's the first thing I've ever read by him, but it's the Story of God commentary on Mark's Gospel. And I quite like this new series, Story of Gods. I think that they have a good layout. They tell the story, they explain the story, they give you background to the story, but they basically tell you how to live the story, which I suppose is application. Layout in these is brilliant. It's a very, very well designed book. You open it, you think, this has been written to be read, which, one cannot undermine the power of layout. It's very good indeed. 613 pages, plenty of information there. A very good book to have on your bookshelf. Mark Strauss has written the Zondervan Exegetical commentary on the New Testament for Mark. And these are really good, solid books. Again, brilliant on layout. Mark Strauss, I have only discovered him in the last couple of years personally, but he really has contributed a lot to the bookshelves of people that read theology. And I have to say, I like him. I think generally what he has to say is good. This is a true verse-by-verse commentary. It takes you through everything. It shows you an outline to begin. It shows you the structure of the chapter, the outline. It explains the text, and then it has a section on application as well. So this is quite a full and widespread commentary. And I suppose that this is one of those commentaries which, if you could only afford one, this might be worth considering as that one. It was only written in 2014, so it's less than a decade old at the time of filming. 784 pages. Whoa, that's a good one. Good, solid hardback. The Zondervan Exegetical is a good range. So there you have Mark Strauss. Now, this is a difficult one for me because this historically has been my go-to commentary on Mark's Gospel. This is William Lane in the New International Commentary on the New Testament. This was published in 1974. Now, you know that if you're writing for university standard writing, you are probably going to be told to put a cap on quotations of more than 30 years. So you can still quote Calvin, but you have to find him quoted in a book that's in the last 30 years, which of course is never that hard. But 652 pages, this, I would suggest to you, has been the go-to commentary for an awful lot of pastors and students for the last 60 years. And that's the reality of it. This has been highly popular. William Lane was a great teacher, lecturer, and in this case, author. And I suppose the NICNT have held on to this for such a long time because this is such an outstanding commentary. Now, if you were going to say to me today, Stephen, I've seen one of these quite cheap, used, then I'd say to you, well, why did you walk away from the bookshop then? Just get it. This is a tremendous value commentary, even though it's going to be probably no good to you in the quotations and bibliography of your essays. But as a pastor, as a teacher, this is good for anyone. And this is an academic book, but it's beautifully written. And I really commend it to you, except just ignore what I've said if you're writing an essay, okay? I suppose the same will be true of the Word Biblical Commentary, in that this is in two parts. Part one was written in 1989, 453 pages by Robert BWIII. I don't know if I've said that right, but Robert, I'm very sorry, mate. This is Mark chapter 1 to Mark chapter 8, verse 26, volume 34A in the Word Biblical Commentary. Like all the rest of the Word Biblical Commentaries, layout's rubbish, page colouring, font size, and all of those other things. It's terrible. It's a reproach on good publishing. But it's very, very good text. It really is excellent. And a lot of what I said about Lane is true about this. It's not as good as Lane, but it's a very good technical commentary. I like it. And then you get to volume 2. And volume 2 is outstanding. This was only published in 2001, and it's by Craig A. Evans. Now, I don't know the story behind this, but I think the previous author may have become ill or may not have been able to continue, and Craig Evans got the job. Whatever the real reason was, he's written 592 pages here of excellent commentaries on Mark 8:27 to 16:20. This is a high quality, if rubbish layout book. Do be watching for new editions of the Word Biblical Commentary from Zondervan, who've acquired Word. You will see these start to come out, which means these should start to fall in price. But of course, this one, 2001, is still nicely in date, still very quotable, and I really commend this one to you. If you can't get the other one, get this. It's really brilliant. This is where I'm really torn. I'm going to offer you now the New Beacon Bible Commentary by Kent Brower. This one is, like all these NBBC ones, well in date. This one's 2012. It's a really top quality commentary. It's 416 pages. I would say this is ideal for a pastor teacher. I would actually say to you, this is an academic book as well, and it crosses that borderline. I really, really get an awful lot out of this series, and this one has really helped me when I last preached my way through Mark. I love this commentary. I completely endorse them. I think they're very, very good indeed, and you will get an awful lot out of this book on any page you turn to it. I guarantee that. So this is one of my very top choices, but I aren't putting it in the top 3 even. I wouldn't want to be without this, but there are some other ones that I probably want to be without less. One of them that was a real struggle to fight with the NBBC is the Socio-Rhetorical Commentary by Ben Witherington III on the Gospel of Mark. This is outstanding. It really, really is. Published in 2001, 463 pages. This is top notch on every page. You will gain so much by reading into what Ben Witherington has written. I don't know how he manages to turn out the quantity of theology books that he does, but he's outstanding, and this is a brilliant commentary. Like all the rest of his books, his bibliographies are to die for, his footnotes are vital. This is a great, great commentary, and this is one of the very first ones I will always connect with. I'm down to my last 2, and some of you are saying, oh, that's a relief. This is a real door wedger. Published in 2007, it's 893 pages. It is the Hermeneia commentary on Mark by Adele Yarborough Collins. What can I say about this? This is a true technical commentary. This whole series have got brilliant layout. This one has got perfect whiteness of page with perfect blackness of font. It's easily readable, even in slightly low light. This has got probably about 1/4 to 1/3 of every page of footnotes, and it's really, really in-depth. Hermeneia series can be a bit different depending who the author is. This one is excellent. Your eyes will be open to a number of different things if you study this book. I just cannot possibly rave about this too much. It's really excellent. It's also expensive, but it's a worthwhile wedge on any heavy door. It will keep it open when the weather is good and be a great access point for you to the scriptures. I love it. This was really hard, but my absolute favourite commentary on the Gospel of Mark is by R.T. France, and it's the New International Greek Testament Commentary series. And this is brilliant. A truly technical commentary. By technical, I'm meaning it starts with the Greek. But with this series, I find that even if your Greek isn't top notch, you can get away with probably knowing very little because the English is well written. In this 719-page commentary that was published in 2002, you have got every single thing that I can think of in Mark. Broached the subject, talked about it, you've got background, you've got context. This is brilliant. If there was only one book that I could keep on the Gospel of Mark, it would be this. But I'd fight you for the rest. This is a quality book. It's also expensive. What I've done with all of these is I've watched the prices, checked them every week, and as time has gone on, as I've seen an offer on something, a publisher has sent me a 20% off voucher, or a dealer has offered 15% off that day, or whatever it is, I have bought them over the years. I've got the full set of these. They are an absolutely brilliant series, although there are still some to be issued to complete it, and some to be replaced as well, which I understand are in the mix. So, New International Greek Testament series are a great one to dip into, but for Mark's Gospel, they are top of the tree. That's my opinion. I hope it's helped you. I hope you've connected well with us today. If you have, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. We're on the way to our next hurdle of subscriber totals now, and we'd really like you to be part of that journey with us. Leave a comment and we'll get back to you in due course. Thank you for listening today, and until next time, God bless you. Bye!